there, Cari Palmer here from the beautiful Puget Sound, and I'm with my good friend,
Candice Sanderson from hot, sticky Naples, Florida.
Very sticky this time of year. Gee, it's amazing nobody comes to the beach this time of year, right?
Right.
All right. So I wanted to share a story. In October of last year, I was sleeping. This was when I had at a place alone in Olympia near my work. I was sleeping and I woke up in the middle of the night. I thought, who turned on my light? My nightstand light was on. And first I thought, I thought, first of all, this has never happened to me. Like, okay, who's here? Who's here? And then I went back to sleep. A couple nights later, my nightstand light came on again. And this time I'm like, all right, who's here? Who's joining me? Who's visiting me? And I'm open to it. The difference if we're going to get to this. And so I went back to sleep. About 2 hours later, my light came on again. So before all this, it was interesting because I've been having a lot of dreams of a good friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in a while. And so I just thought at this point, I reached out to him and I sent him a text. I'm like, yeah, I've just been thinking of you. What's going on? And some time goes by and I get a text eventually from his wife saying he lost his life in August. My friend passed in August. I'd been dreaming about him, which means, and his name was Barry. Barry was a larger than life, 6'8", an amazing man. It was pretty cool, all these dreams he came in. But then I realized, I'm like, Barry is visiting me and I know it's Barry. How did I know it was Barry? Well, my little pendulum here, this thing, let me tell you, has come in handy. We've talked a lot about energy work and I didn't know who it was. I didn't know anybody else who had passed. And that's why I'm like, it has to be somebody who's coming to me. So I asked my pendulum, I'm like, is it Barry? And the way I do mine, I have like, this is yes, and this is no. And then I just, this is, I don't know. And when I said, is it Barry? It was a definite yes. So at this point, and this happened a couple of nights, and I'm trying to talk to Barry and communicate to Barry, like, Barry, why are you coming to me? What am I here? What do I need? What do I need to do for you on this side? And so I figured his wife, she had lost her previous husband in a motorcycle accident. And so I thought, do you want me to get in touch with Laura? Because I knew she was probably in a lot of pain. So I used my phone. I said, Barry, do you want me to get in touch with Laura? It didn't do this, it's this. Like, no, she's fine. I mean, it literally said, it's not that. So to this day, do I have any idea why Barry reached out to me? No, I've talked to him quite a bit. I'm always sharing with him, but I don't know the reason why. But that's why we're doing this. Why? Come on, tell me why.
I know. Well, first of all, before we started our video today, I had just done a video on my channel about pendulums, and
here we go.
One of the videos that I showed, I talked about how easy it is to use them, and I'm like you. The way I have it trained is, if it's a yes, I want it to go up and down. If it's a no, I want it to go this way.
Right.
In fact, my Shalane, who's my 4-year-old granddaughter, I was at their house the other day, and she said, oh, Nana, I asked my pendulum if Loki was the cutest dog in the whole world, and it said yes. And I said, that's wonderful. It's so sweet. So using a pendulum can be a lot of fun, even if you're just playing with it. And even if you don't believe in it, you just use it and it's fun. But what happens is this becomes like an interface between you and maybe your beliefs and what's happening on the other side. It's kind of like when you fall asleep at night, you cross another dimensional barrier. And so your ego, your judgment is all tucked aside, and you don't pay attention to that. And so the information is much more likely just to flow to you. A pendulum is the same sort of thing. It puts you out of the way, and the energy comes straight in. So that way you don't have to say, I'm making it up. What you can decide is, this is the pendulum that's answering it for you. Now, what I want to do is tell you why Barry came to you. And it's pretty simple. It's because you were there and you were open. Okay?
I was one that could hear him. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
When people cross over, they cross into another dimensional space, but they are still here with us. They're just
Yes.
in a different form. And I mentioned in one of our videos, and I think we're in episode 7 now. So back in episode 6,
Yes, we
maybe
are.
even before that, um, I, mentioned some things, once you step into a dimensional space, such as dreaming in the dream state, you start tapping into the energy that's all around you, and you don't have to judge what's going on. When people cross over, their true essence, which is their soul or their spirit, not just this shell of a body,
Right.
it steps into like a glorified, fabulous body. But they might want to come back and still visit with us. And a lot of times they do, especially early on. And they can be buzzing around you and just, look at me, I'm here, I'm here. And being so close to them, like, if the widow, she might, it's like, oh, I'm making this up, or you might find yourself in so much grief that you don't pick up on the energy. So quite often they will visit you in the dream state. So visiting you in the dream, in the dream state is great. I mean, it is not just a dream. When you have these
No.
visits, Cari, you can tell that it's different. It's normally in color. It's usually very
Yes.
vivid, and you can understand, remember everything that occurs. But as the messengers have told me before, is once you make that connection, you can connect again, because you've laid the foundation for this to occur. So the reason he came to you is that you
I'm open.
responded.
I could receive
You
him.
were
Yes.
open. You were open.
Yeah.
But how many times
Hey,
do we
so
dream of people and then all of a sudden they call us the next day, or you think of someone
yes.
and then you get a text message from them? It's because we're
Yes.
all energy, and those
Yes.
vibrations just connect. So
Yep.
good for
So
you. And the fact that you reached out to him, which was great, and that his
yes.
widow was able to respond.
Yes. And it's like there's another woman I know who lost a child, and she had been posting a lot on Facebook. It was like a couple year battle with cancer. And I just felt intuitively that I needed to reach out. And so I did. She was very sad one day. I sent a very long message on Facebook and pretty much just let her know, I'm like, your daughter is right there. It's like she feels good. She doesn't hurt anymore. And her whole
Right.
young childhood, all she knew was pain. And so it's just those little things to her. And I reached out to Laura too. And when she responded to me, and I told her too, and that maybe it was just that message I sent to her after Barry reached out to me was probably why he reached out. Because I went to her and just said, he's no longer hurting. I just gave her those things that I know as somebody who knows that we don't die, that he's healthier than ever, he's bigger than life, and he's happier than he's ever been, and he's with
Right.
times. And so yes, they are there. I wanted to tell a story. I'm not going to say who this is, but a very close person to me. Her husband passed, and she told me, I was visiting her one day, and she said, this seems so out there, because this woman is not a believer in anything hoo-hoo. It's like, it's what is, it's all science. She said, you may not believe me, but twice, not once, but twice, she goes, I swear he came in the room and we had sex. I'm like, you weren't dreaming. I'm like, it's astral travel. I'm like, he is there with you. And I'm like, and the funny part is that, because I know this guy, he was self-involved. And I'm like, leave it to him. It's like, even on the other side, he comes and, it's like, which one he wants. But it was just kind of funny. But it's like, and it was funny too, because there was a girl in the living room during this visit too. And I was sitting here talking to her, and then I left the room, and then I heard a scream. I went in there and I said, what's wrong? She said, she thought she was still talking to me, and she reached back like this, and she felt me grab her arm. And then she looked and there was nobody there. And she was like, ah! I'm like, that's him. Guess who's going to visit you again tonight and have a little bit more sex? So it's just, in our dreams, it's like the very vivid too. And I try now to keep paper by my bed so I could document what I dream of, so I really can remember it. But those dreams that you have, you're visiting with your friends and your peers, people across the globe. Candice, I'm sure you and I go out all the time in the middle of the night. We're, partying like rock stars. But this stuff, it happens at night when our body and our ego is numb, and then we are open to being what we are, because this is what we are, you know, just this shell is
Exactly.
just so temporary. It's, I mean, oh, we have so much to
Exactly.
share. I just,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I mean,
And so,
I can remember having dreams of, like, there's one dream several years ago of my father, and then, and now, and he had passed, and I knew it was a visit. Um, you know, I hate to say this, but I can never remember the day that he passed, because he passed on Thanksgiving. So I always think of Thanksgiving, but that date changes, you know, every year.
yes,
So I had to
right.
actually go back and look up on what day it was, you know, Thanksgiving on the year that he died. And, you know, it was the anniversary of his death. So quite often when
Wow.
you do have a visit, um, it will occur on a special occasion, the anniversary of their passing, maybe on their birthday. But when other times kind of fit into the schedule where it creates an opening for them to come to you. And it's not so much that the opening's there as much as it is for you, the recipient. It's like, no, I just made that up. Well, in my example, I didn't remember when my father had passed. I had to look it up, and then when I did, it's like, ding, 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 this was the date. But
Right.
it's
Right.
validation for us that are left behind,
Yeah.
that we need that extra validation.
Yes. And we could do an entire video, and we need to do an entire video. I just made a note on getting visits, being open to people, anybody you know who's crossed to the other side. We'll definitely talk about this, because if you have somebody close to you who's passed, they're there with you, they're near you, but most people are just not able to open up to see the signs. So yeah, so Barry,
Right.
I mean, and to this day I still dream of him, and it's like, I know he's still visiting, but good friend, and he always will be on either side. So
Great. That
we'll
sounds
be
good.
back.
All right. See you
We'll come
next
back again
time.
next week. Bye.
Bye.